You're in my head. I literally had a dream last night about this project. I honestly shouldn't complain because my dreams are usually about like rearranging the pantry. I'm 40. I have 3 kids, right? Like this is the excitement that I get. So when I had this dream last night, I was like, I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to try it. And even better yet, I'm going to try it while filming it and not even practice it first. So here's the deal. We made this bag the other day. This is a dish drying mat bag from Dollar Tree, and y'all liked it, and I appreciate that. But the biggest comment I saw was, how do we put a zipper in this? And I'm gonna try and answer that for you today. So I rented Dollar Tree, and I found all this America stuff, and I was like, let's make a patriotic bag. I have no idea what of this I'm going to use, but we will sort it out as, oh, hey, look, my eyelash curler. I was looking for that. I just bought stuff. I bought some scarves. I have some red dish drying mats. I got some fat quarters. I found rope. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but let's maybe sort out a plan and see if we can make this bag again, but with a zipper along the top this time. I think I might use for the outside and inside of the bag are these little bandanas. These are adorable. All of this is from Dollar Tree. If you don't know my shtick by now, I like to sew apparently Dollar Tree items all the time. This was meant to be a series of like 2 or 3 videos, but it's kind of become my identity. And I'm not complaining because, to be honest, I've been having so much fun with this. And when you have a bunch of kids and like they take up a lot of your bandwidth, to be able to like sit and do something creative is really fun. So this is, oh, that's cute. I like that bandana, but I may not use this one for this project because it's so cute. I kind of feel like I don't know. Let's see what else we got. It also came with this one. I love this one. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. What if we quilt? Don't freak out when I say quilt. Y'all know by now, I mean just sew some lines on it. What if we quilt this bag with this on top? Now the centering might be tricky because maybe we'll do it like this, or maybe we put it like this. Oh, I kind of like that. Yeah, I think that's kind of cute, right? And we'll lose some of it when we box the corners. I still think bottom might be, well, but then you'd see the top. I think top might be the way to go. Okay, anyway, so I'm going to start with that. I don't know. We'll just take it a step at a time. I've got some scarves. I might save those for later. I've got fat quarters. Which one would look better as the interior? Oh, red for sure. Yeah, okay. So we'll use 2 fat quarters. So far, we're using 2 dish drying mats, 2 scarves, and 2 fat quarters. If you want to get a glimpse into like how my mind works, there's very, very seldom a practice run. It's usually, hey, I think that sounds fun. I'm going to try it. And let me say, that's why these Dollar Tree projects are so nice, because have I invested some money? Yes, I have. Have I invested so much money that I'm going to cry if this doesn't turn out right? No, I'm not. It's also great if you're just learning how to sew, because then you can just buy some supplies and decide whether sewing is for you or not, right? Such a good opportunity. And not just Dollar Tree, Dollar General, all the dollar stores. We don't have a Dollarama. I think that's Canada, but I've heard that's pretty great. We have to cut these down to the size of the dish drying mat. And I'm going to use the full dish drying mat because that's a nice size bag. Like that to me is like a purse. So let's see. So I'm just going to flip it over, straighten it out as much as I can. Now this is not printed 100% straight, but it's okay. It's going to be okay. And we will cut it out. Save this because you can use this for later. We could even make a strap out of this if we wanted to. Clip this in place for now. Now, when you go to quilt this, you could use some basting spray to hold this all in place. You could use a glue stick just between the 2 fabrics to kind of keep it where it needs to be. I had a dream last night about this bag, but I also had a dream I lived in Australia, and that was kind of fun. My dreams have been a little more interesting lately. I don't know what's going on. Maybe my life is getting more interesting. You know, I think I'm going to turn this. Does anyone live in Australia? I'd like to visit. Can I come hang out with you? There. Yes, this is the straightest side of the print. And it's okay if you let it overhang a little bit, because when you quilt it, sometimes things shift. So don't get too up in arms about it. Yeah. Now, after we cut this, I'm gonna cut my fat quarters, so I need to iron these as well. This will be so cute to carry for Memorial Day and through the summer with all the holidays coming up. Now, if you're viewing from a different country, you don't have to do America Spirit if you don't want to. You can do this with any fabric. The scarves are a little thin, so that's why I'm definitely using this as to back up my fabrics. The foam drying mat really gives it some cushioning. And save these scraps. I throw no scraps away. It's kind of a problem because it makes my sewing space a little messy. I need a better organizational plan for scraps. And then we'll lay this one out. And I'll just use this as my template. If you want to use the zipper from your laundry mesh bag, you are going to be a little limited on the size of bag you can make. So you can fit it, it would need to be about 1 inch shorter than the width of your bag. So you could still get probably like a 14-inch wide bag out of this zipper, but I want it to be a little extra big. So I'm going to use my zipper by the yard on this project. You can get this in bulk on Amazon, link in bio. I'm going to cut this bright red. It also gives you more color options, and the pulls are metal instead of plastic. So it is a little bit of an investment, but it's going to save you money in the long run. And quite honestly, it probably comes out to even cheaper than what these are if you're able to order from Amazon. So I'm going to cut this 1 inch shorter than the length of my piece here. So load the zipper pull on. To do this, you just open up the zipper tape, slide one side into one and the other piece into the other side, and kind of push it down. And then I like to lay it out on my work table and hold on to the zipper tape and then pull it up, and it loads on just fine. So a couple of things we need to cut, and I'm going to use my leftovers from this. We need to cut some zipper tabs to go in the ends of this, and those are going to be 1.5 inches by 2 inches. We need to figure out, so here's where it gets tricky with this kind of bag. When you want to add a zipper, that's fine, but if you're still wanting to keep it super beginner friendly, we don't want to get into adding like sides to the zipper and then getting into binding inside the bag and all kinds of other bag making tricks. I'm trying to keep this as wildly simple as possible. So I came up with an idea. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I'm going to use this rope as, it's like in the floral section. I'm going to use it as the straps or the handles. I think what makes me feel happiest is like maybe about this length. So what I'm going to do is cut it just a little bit longer, just to be safe. And then I'm going to cut a second piece for the other side. The plan is to sew the zipper, but the handles are going to actually sit right here. So they're going to be attached like this. And then I'm going to create two tabs of fabric to cover them. And I'm basically going to be doing is just sewing over the rope on the end so it stays put, but it's also not exposed. And it may not work. I don't know. We'll find out. I've never done this before, so why not do it while you're recording yourself, right? So I've cut 3 by 3.5. You need 4 of these. You're gonna have 4 ends to your rope handles. What I really wanna do here is just make them all the same size. So I'm gonna eyeball a 1/2 inch in from the top, 1/2 inch in from the bottom, half inch down on the other side. And then a 1/2 inch on the other side. So it's making it a square shape, sans raw edges. And I'm gonna sew around this perimeter. So we'll do that on all 4 pieces. So for this piece, again, we're just folding all those edges in, and once you get them ironed down, you just lay them in, and I'm sewing them with 1/8 of an inch from the edge. Go straight down the line, stop a little short of the end, lift your presser foot, turn the fabric, and keep going. Just keep lining it up with that 1/8 inch measurement, and you'll be fine. Now we're gonna sew over these again once we attach the handles, but this will be a lot less stressful if you've got these pieces already like secured. Next step is we are going to do some sort of quilting technique to secure the scarf piece to this. The first stitch I'm going to do is just right along the edge to secure it to my fabric. That helps kind of set the bar of like how we want the fabric to lay to keep it straight as we proceed down the route. Perfect. This also is probably not going to show in the end anyway because you're going to be sewing this together. Now I need to refill my bobbin. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you my quilting technique when I come back. I've decided I'm going to switch to my walking foot for the quilting part, because it's got this little bar that helps me measure things, and it's going to plow through this a little easier. A walking foot has feed dogs on the top side, so let's consider it kind of like 4-wheel drive for your sewing machine. So when you need a little extra push to get thicker fabrics through, or just anything really, it's helpful in quilting. This is a wonderful foot. Some people put this on their machine and just never take it off. Now I switch my feet around too much to be able to just leave a walking foot on for eternity, but it does have a very important place in my heart, and it's a very important thing to have in my sewing room. So I'm going to sew this just the same, but now I've got this little bar here that's going to help me measure my stitches well. I'm going to do this at a 3.5, and I'm just going to do straight stitching, I believe. You can kind of see how the walking foot dip is. It's really pulling that fabric through well, and that's because of those feed dogs on the top. Okay, I'm going to work my way down the bag, and I'll come back when I'm done. We have successfully quilted the bag. It's starting to look like a Vera Bradley a little bit to me. I didn't intend that, but it just sort of does. So now that we've got everything just stuck together, the hardest part has arrived. And there's a few things I'm going to say about this. First of all, you can do this. Second of all, there's a few things you can do to help yourself be able to do this. So we did our walking foot. That's very helpful for this next step. I also think it would be helpful if you switch your needle to more of like a denim or jeans needle, like a 100/16. That's gonna help plow through some of this rope. We're sewing things that aren't typically sewn, so we have to be creative and think outside the box. And what we're hoping to achieve here is this. So I used matching color because it helps it blend in a little bit. So if it doesn't turn out great, it's not gonna like be super visible anyway, but we can't put the straps unless we do a whole lot of other work, and this is supposed to be beginner friendly. We can't put the straps just like right inside, like between the lining and the main like we normally would, because that's where our zipper's going. So this is my workaround, and I think this is gonna work great. Let me show you how to do it. Take your 2 pieces that you made and you sewed around the edge. And first we need to find the center of the piece. So I'm gonna aim you down a little bit. So measure it on your cutting mat. This is 18 inches. So halfway would be 9 inches. I'm gonna clip it there. Now take your rope and I'm going to set these apart. These are, I think, 3.5 inches from the center on either side. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3.5 inches. So 1, 2, 3. Good. And there, and about 3 inches down as well. So once you've got them laid out where you want them, take your piece of fabric, and here's the trick. This is braided rope, so unbraid it just a little bit. We want to get rid of as much thickness as we can, because this is going to be a beast to sew over. Not impossible, just you need to be wary of how you're doing it. We're going to go slow. We're going to tackle it. Pin this on right where I want it to go. And when we go to sew this, we're just going to follow the perimeter of the stitches that we already made on this little piece of fabric. So that helps make it easier. And I'm going to finish it up with this little, I don't know if you can see this, but I made a little X across it as well. And I'll show you how to sew that just for extra security to keep that rope from coming out. We don't want it to slip out as we use the bag. Let's go to the machine and we are going to sew around this square and then finish it with an X. And then all you have to do is sew over the stitches that you already sewed. The heavy duty needle on this is going to make all the difference in your walking foot. Again, remember, it's a good way to think of it is 4-wheel drive for your sewing machine. It's going to give you that extra power like a 4-wheel drive vehicle would if you're driving through snow or something difficult. It's gripping your fabric on both sides. We're getting to the point where it's time to sew over that rope. Hold it down as flat as you possibly can and start pulling it from the back to make sure that you're moving through. And you may have to stop and lift your presser foot and get that walking foot to start ramping over. Be very careful not to get your fingers in the mix here. And your machine's gonna be mad at you and it's gonna groan at you, and that's okay. You were made for this, little brother. Lift your presser foot once you get over that little section. You'll have to move the rope out of the way. It can get stuck in your pieces. So now it's semi-secure, but I'm gonna come down across the diagonal to really secure it. And then we're gonna do that again on the other side. Now, because we unwound some of those braids on the rope, this is flying over this part really easy. Turn it, come back up to this corner, and then we'll go down this corner. So once you get that, come down to this corner. Make sure you're still pulling your fabric through. Finish up with a back stitch. And look at your handiwork. Look at that. That rope is stuck. It's not going anywhere. So repeat that on this side. Okay, listen. Everybody take a deep breath. The hard part is over. We've attached our straps. It is gravy from here on out. Trust me. Take your bag, fold that down. It's time to do our zipper. I mean, a zipper feels like nothing now that you've done this weird strap thing, right? Let's do the zipper. The first thing we need to do is sew some tabs onto the end of our zipper. So I'm gonna fold this down, and you can iron this if you want, but basically you're just folding the 2 ends in and then folding it in on itself, and you can just finger press this. Slide it onto the end, and then we're gonna sew a straight line right across. My machine's like, I hate you. Have I told you that I hate you? Trim that up. on both sides if necessary. Get rid of any extra threads. And this is what it'll look like. Repeat that on your other piece. We need to grab our lining at this point. One piece. So your main piece is going to be pretty side up. Your zipper is going to be pretty side down. And then your lining is going to be pretty side down. And clip this all the way across. Load your zipper foot on and then line it up right along the edge. I like to put this little presser foot right along the edge of my bag top. That helps me sort of keep things lined up properly. And then you're just going to sew. You'll be, I don't know, between 1/8 of an inch and 1/4 of an inch from your zipper teeth, which is a healthy distance when you're just learning. It keeps things from getting caught in the zipper teeth, which is a real pain. And you're kind of doing this blindly because you can't see the zipper, but you can see the teeth sticking up there, which helps you figure out where you're going and what you need to do. I'm getting close to my zipper pull, so I'm going to lift my presser foot and I'm going to pull the zipper pull out of the way. Make sure you lift your presser foot for that step or it's not going to go anywhere. And you can't sew around a zipper pull usually because you're cutting so close to those zipper teeth, and it'll create sort of a like bump out in your zipper and it does not look pretty. So make sure you are taking the time to fix that zipper pull and push it to where it needs to go. And I'm just leaving my navy blue thread on for this part because it's really not going to be that visible on this side. And then when we top stitch it, I want that blue thread on the front side because I'm trying to make it sort of blend in. So all the way to the end, finish up with a back stitch and turn your work out. Look at that. You attached a zipper. We're making a zipper purse. Isn't this crazy? Now you could also add a pocket to this if you wanted to, and maybe I'll show that in a future video. Fold your lining down. You want it out of the way because we are going to top stitch. We're doing this for 2 reasons. Switch to your zipper or your zigzag foot for this. First of all, it looks nice, but second of all, it's going to hold that lining down and keep it out of the way of your zipper teeth. I like to top stitch at a 3.5 millimeter length, and I do it about 1/8 of an inch away from the top edge of my bag. So I'm going to sew maybe like 3 inches. I'm going to stop, reach under, pull the lining down. It's kind of like you're pulling the lining of a dress down, like when you reach under and you're trying to keep everything straight. You have to check it every few inches because any little part that's sticking up above where it needs to go could get stuck in your zipper, and that can cause major problems in your project. Now for this, I don't need to move my zipper pull because I'm sewing far enough away from the zipper teeth. Oh my gosh, this bag is coming along nicely. Are you guys still with me? If you are, just please know that I am really proud of you. This is a challenging project. And I probably sound a little crazy and harebrained about it and not like those professional tutorial people. But like I said, I woke up from a dream and was like, oh, I have to make this bag today. So what's life if we don't fly by the seat of our pants a little bit? So here's what it looks like when you've got it done. You're going to have the zipper sticking out from the top, your lining on the other side. And again, this is where you could add a little pocket if you wanted to, and I can show that again in another video. But we're trying to keep this cost effective and beginner friendly. Take your other main piece and lay it pretty side up. Lay your other main piece that's already had the zipper attached pretty side down. And then your lining, your other lining piece is gonna go pretty side down. When you pull that up, make sure everything's nice and even and lined up against that top raw edge, and then clip it in place. We're gonna sew across this line right here to attach the zipper on this side. Once we get these zippers top stitched and sewn on, all we have left to do is really box the corners and close this baby up. Switch to your regular zigzag foot. We're gonna turn that lining down, open the bag up so that it's nice and flat. And I'm going to top stitch along this side. 1/8 of an inch away, 3.5 millimeter stitch length, and make sure that you're pulling that lining down from underneath as you go so you don't sew through the lining and so it doesn't get stuck in your zipper rather. You probably are like, do you ever sew with real fabric? Or real materials? And the answer is 100% yes, I do. But I'm trying to show you how to think outside the box when you walk into a Dollar Tree and you can find things that you were like not sure that you ever would sew with, but then you can. So yes, I do sew regular materials. But let's be honest, this is so much more fun. Here's what we've got. 2 halves of a bag. We're gonna box the corners, close this guy up, and call it a day. So lay your pieces flat and pull that lining down so it's straight. Now, I told you I cut my lining a little big, and we can trim that up, and that's fine. So trim off your extra if you have some. Make it nice and square. Then grab your ruler, and I'm gonna mimic the bee bag that I made, and I'm gonna box these corners 3 by 3. Perfect. Take your main and your back pieces, your front and back pieces, and match them together. Keep that rope out of the way. The first place I like to match these up is right here in this bulky seam. So I'm gonna clip it right here, turn it, and I'm gonna clip it right here. Then work your way around the bag. Now, we're gonna leave a large section in the lining untouched because that's how we're gonna turn the bag out when we're done sewing it. So clip everywhere else. And we're gonna sew along the sides and the bottom and then skip obviously that center section, but do not sew in your boxed corners because we're gonna sew those separately in just a second. It's a good chance to make sure everything's nice and even. So we're not gonna sew like here, but we are gonna sew right here. I'm gonna do this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance with a 2.5 millimeter stitch length. And again, for this first one, we're just sewing a little bit onto this one side. I like to sew from here down. I don't like to move up because it's easier to come down off of this hill than to climb it, but you can do whatever makes you happy. 1/4 inch seam allowance. When you approach that tricky part, just take your time, keep your eye on your seam allowance, and just focus on trying to make that as even as possible. Always finish up your stitches with a back stitch. I'm excited to see how this turns out. If you want a fun challenge on a Saturday afternoon, you can tackle this one. All right, we're on our last seam. I'm going to show you after this how to box the corners. And when I say boxed corners, what that means is you're closing up the corners in a way on the bottom of the bag that helps it to stand up when it's on a table or a floor or whatever. It helps the bag to stand on its own, especially if you're using these drying mats because they're so structured. This will definitely hold its shape and stand up real cute, hopefully. All right, time to box the corners. You've got your little square cut out. I want you to grab the other parts, not the seams, but the other parts of your square and open them up and then match those seams. And we're gonna sew right here. I'm trying to do the quick math on how much this bag cost me. So 2 linings, 2 fat quarters, so $2.50. The drying mats were $1.25 each, so that's 5. The rope was $1.25, so $6.25. Now the zipper, if, like I said earlier, if you want to do a zipper from one of those laundry bags, you'll just make a smaller purse. But if you use that, it would be $1.25. Honestly, I cannot recommend, like I said, zipper by the yard enough. So I don't know how to decide how much that costs. So we'll just say $1.25, but my zipper by the yard does not cost that much. But just for fun and for Dollar Tree purposes, we'll say you used the laundry bag. So it would be $1.25 divided by 3. I don't know what's that, like 40 some cents. So we're looking at, oh, and the bandanas, which we used half of what was in. So you spent $2.50 on them, but you still have 2 bandanas left. So we can add that in. I'm going to say, just round up doing my quick sewing math, that this bag we made for around $10. Could you go buy an America purse at the store? Sure. That's not the point. The point of these posts is for you to be able to sew something. So I get a lot of comments from people who are like, why would you do this when you can just buy it probably at the Dollar Tree for $1.25? Sure you can. That's not why I'm here. I'm here to teach you how to sew. I'm here to get you inspired and excited about the craft of sewing because it excites me. And I want to share what I know so that you can learn how to make things, because there's nothing that makes me feel more empowered and more like myself than creating something and running downstairs and being like, honey, look what I made. It's kind of like my own little child, inner child coming out of, look at me, look at me. And my husband is sweet and actually entertains it. So I'm grateful for that. Now you can trim up these little edges if you want. You don't have to. It might help the bag to be a little bit more flat on the bottom. But you don't need to like finish these seams because it's all going to be enclosed once we turn it right side up. Can you believe this is a dish drying mat? So crazy. It's amazing what you can do with it. This dish drying mat probably did not ever think when it got made that it was going to be a purse. All right, it's time to turn this right side out. So reach in the hole that you left open. I have so many fuzzies on this bag. I'm going to have to take like a sticky thing to it. Put your hand through that zipper and slowly, carefully pull the bag through because it is large and in charge. I love it already. Oh my gosh. How cute. Stick your hand in there and you're going to want to push those boxed corners out while you have the lining open like that. It feels luxurious because of that scarf, I think. We'll go through and we'll trim all these little, look at it, even the matching of my lines, you guys. How does that even happen? Push these little corners through up at the top where you have your zipper tabs. That'll help you push everything through. And let's close this lining by just folding those pieces in. You can press this if you want to hold them in place. You could clip them. I'm gonna just make life hard for myself and eyeball it. So fold those little seam pieces down. Once you get it straight, just sew a tiny stitch as close to the edge as you can to close it up, because if you don't, you'll lose things in your bag and you'll be like, where did my sunglasses go? I feel them, but I don't see them. If a pocket is something you'd like to see on a project like that, please let me know in the comments and I can come up with some other plan to make one with a pocket. I can't help it if I see those little straggler threads. I have to cut them. It's like an impulse. This is so cute. Who knew this was a scarf? All right, let's see how it turned out. Stuff in that lining. Oh my goodness. Trim off all these little straggler threads. This is so cute. Okay, close her up. And then you have the cutest little bag. And if you want it to be a little taller, you could you could do these little boxes smaller. You could do 2 inches or 1 inch. You'll just have less room at the bottom then. It'll be a little taller. I love this. Look at I feel like my cardigan or my kimono is distracting from it, but look at my cute little bag that I made with some floral rope, some bandanas, a dish drying mat, and a zipper. To see the inside, you've got all this nice room in here to shove things in and carry them around, and you've got your little rope handles. What do y'all think of this America bandana drying mat rope bag? Thanks for following along today. I hope this tutorial was helpful, just kind of slow, just hanging out. If you have questions, put them in the comments. And if there's other stuff that you want to see me make, let me know in the comments as well. Again, I'm Chelsea with She Sews Seams, and thanks for following along today.